Welcome to the Coaching Focus podcast Christmas special. I'm Trayton, Vance, CEO and founder of the Coaching Focus Group. And today I'm joined by my amazing colleague and friend, Marc Wicks. Marc, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you, Trayton. I'm very fortunate to be here.
And today, as Christmas nears, Marc and I will be discussing how we might help Father Christmas with the challenges he faces on his big night. However, before we get started, I thought it'd be helpful to set the context of who Father Christmas is and some of the challenges he may be facing. For me, Father Christmas is a jolly and robust figure, a bit like you and I, Marc, who epitomizes festive cheer and benevolence. With a snowy white beard, a bit like you and I, Marc, around his beaming face, he symbolizes the spirit of giving. His legacy stretches back centuries, rooted in folklore and the hearts of children and adults alike. And just in case you're wondering, yes, I still believe. As December's chill wraps the world each year, Father Christmas embarks on his legendary journey. He traverses the globe in a sleigh led by his team of reindeer, each as famous as their leader, although I wonder if our listeners can name them all. The most famous is Rudolph and his glowing nose at the helm. Santa's sleigh, laden with gifts and magic, will soon be soaring across the starlit skies, painting a picture of wonder for all who believe. His challenges, though numerous, are tackled with a laugh and a smile. And one might think that navigating in the dead of night would be his greatest test. But as we all know, Father Christmas is a master of the stars. His real challenge lies in the art of stealth, tiptoeing into homes without waking a soul, leaving behind gifts and traces of joy. He navigates chimneys of all sizes, a feat that defies the laws of physics, yet he does it with grace and finesse. For me, though, above all, Father Christmas is a keeper of dreams and a guardian of the magic of childhood. He represents hope, generosity, and the warmth of the festive season, reminding us that a little bit of wonder can go a long way in lighting up the world we live in today. And my goodness, doesn't the world need that at the moment? So Marc, welcome. A little elf tells me that you may know a little bit about what goes on in Santa's grotto while he gets ready for his big night.
Well, Trayton, you're absolutely right. As any organisation that we know, they're consistently faced with change and adaptation in an organisation. And Father Christmas is exactly the same. The organisation that he runs is up against the many challenges that many organisations and businesses have today. He has challenges with his workforce, the elves that provide the products and services to deliver throughout that wonderful festive period to all the families. He has a client base of 8.1 billion people, of which he has to provide in that one evening to provide that fulfillment and joy and happiness to all the families around the world. Not only is his workforce challenged, they too are looking for hybrid working. They too are looking for pay increases. They too are looking for the training skills that they require to be able to build and put together all these wonderful presents that we all receive at this festive time. He has a group of reindeers that provide his transportation around the world. His sleigh needs adapting. There's different options that he may consider. Not only that, we look at the environment in which he lives in, the North Pole, and the diminishing effects that are happening due to global warming. These are all challenges that he has. And on top of that, he has his own family, the issues and the dilemmas that we all find in everyday life, which he has to be able to meet. But at the same time, cognizant in his mind is the work that needs to be done in those 364 days that he has available. No mean feat, no mean task, but one that consistently challenges him and his team and all his friends and family.
And I love it that you talk about the consistent challenge, constantly being challenged. But the thing that I admire about Father Christmas, that is he consistently delivers to those billions of customers. and managing the workforce, which is extensive under the many challenges that he faces in the new world of work. So, Marc, tell me how he leads and manages the workforce to make sure that he delivers in a way which is consistent and brings joy and happiness to so many.
Well, Trayton, there's many styles that he has, and we all know the styles that are available, but I think key within that is it's not just one style that he leads by. He's flexible and he adapts to the situation. If we were to look at the year for him, in the very early months of the year, he's more of a sort of commanding, pace-setting type leader with a lot of vision. I mean, luckily for him, the vision is fairly consistent, as he knows every year when he needs to deliver and provide. So that vision is already there for them. It's the challenges that he has with the products and services that he has to provide. And there he takes a more sort of affiliative type approach, working with the elves to listen, to understand what their challenges are. The democratic approach in the way that he can sit and consult and talk with them and listen. But this takes time, as we know. So sometimes he needs to be very clear in direction and adopt a slightly different style to ensure that that work gets conducted and performed.
So flexibility, adaptability are all key parts of the way that he operates across the year.
Absolutely. And without that flexibility and adaptability, I would suggest that he may not achieve his mission, but he is supported by a very good team that ensures that that happens. But the direction comes from him with a lot of support from his wife in the background.
Well, maybe we'll talk about his wife shortly. But I guess what you're saying also with the consistency of the timings of when he has to deliver, but also the values and the beliefs that he holds and the consistency and authenticity of him as a character and as a leader.
Well, he empowers his team, Trayton, clearly empowers them. He has trust. He values them. He listens to them, which gives them a sense of real purpose. The purpose is there for them. They know what they've got to achieve and how they're doing it. But every now and again, they need that little bit of a hand on the shoulder, the sit down, the conversation, and his ability to listen to them, to understand what they're going through. He listens to understand more so than listens to respond. And that's a great takeaway for many of us. Give people that time, give them the environment and the space.
So what I'm hearing is Father Christmas is great at setting a vision and an outline of the direction and what needs to be done. So wearing his leadership hat and also at the same time finding quality time to sit down and be present with individuals and listen to them in a way which is authentic and that people feel, the elves feel they've been heard. And are there times when he needs to manage and use a little bit more authority in his approach?
Absolutely. As we know, Trayton, there are times in all organisations and business when management is a style that needs to be there. There's more direction. He's telling a little bit more about what they need to do. And he needs to be able to use that to ensure that the task is met. It's something he tries to stay away from as much as he can because he believes in his people. He knows that they have the potential, but for them to be able to perform to the highest standard, every now and again, he may need to just give that little bit of direction that they require.
So he knows how to balance and to move using different approaches, different styles to ensure that he brings the best out of the elves and that each elf plays their best game.
Absolutely.
To deliver a consistent service to the clients that he has to serve across the globe.
He does. And as with any workforce, he has to enable those changes. And if the people want to work slightly differently, it could be a more hybrid approach, or they may wish to work from home. As long as they have the resources that they require, he's quite happy to do that. So that flexibility is there as well. But as with any organisation, as you know, Trayton, time off is important to them as well. They need that recuperation. They need that time to remain resilient. They need that time to do the things they want to do, things that empower them in their own life, things that excite them. and make them feel valued as as part of a team, because they are allowed this spare time themselves as well.
Yeah.
They have holidays like you and I.
And this may be a secret, but when does Santa take his holiday, Mark?
Well, he is very consistent with that, because he knows there is a time, usually just after he has set the vision. So after that very, very busy evening, where obviously he is up all night delivering, he needs a little bit of recuperation after that. So quite often he will take that time fairly soon afterwards, but after he has set the vision, to enable people to just reflect on what that vision is and how they're going to do it. And then he can come back in once they've had time to reflect, to guide and steer and facilitate conversations with them to enable them to be able to move forward.
So he provides that direction, and then he knows how to look after himself so that he's in a good place to come back in and to support and facilitate the delivery from the elves.
Absolutely. As we know, Trayton, all work and no play, is not a healthy way of living. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's just going to degrade and take you down into a slippery hole somewhere. We all need time, every one of us, to be able to sit back, reflect, and just reboot ourselves to think about what it is we're going back in to do.
So even Father Christmas focuses on his own well-being, along with the well-being of his elves, and I'm sure his reindeers.
Absolutely. I mean, the reindeers are as busy as anybody on that evening. They do a lot of training throughout the year to ensure that they maintain their fitness, which is also another great thing for all individuals to do. Eat healthily, sleep well, and do a little bit of training, something that makes you happy. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical, but just taking time out yourself, whatever it is that excites you.
And I guess what you're saying is constantly staying fit for purpose, knowing the demands are ahead of you and what you've got to fulfill across the globe.
Yeah, preparation. Anybody preparing for a marathon, would take time. They do it in installments to make sure that each time they raise to another level.
Yeah. And you mentioned Mrs. Christmas. So what was the advice that Mrs. Christmas gives to Father Christmas at this time of year, Mark?
It's really interesting, Trayton, because I don't think she actually gives advice. I think she more so listens to him and the challenges that he may be facing. She's a sounding board for him. He's able to talk with her about different ideas and different things that may be on his mind. And she provides that space for him to talk to her. And she listens with intent. She listens to understand. She doesn't really put direction in. She actually asks more open style questions to enable him to think differently. And as we know, when we think differently, this is when we can put things into action, all right? And we feel powerful that we've thought about it ourselves. She's just inciting his thinking, really. Occasionally, yes, I'm sure Mrs. Christmas puts her foot down when required, as we all know, as any good sort of family do. So, yeah, he's certainly supported invaluably by her.
So maybe that's a little secret you've given us, Mark, that Mrs. Christmas is potentially Father Christmas's coach.
I think very much so. Very much so.
Great. And what are the challenges, the core challenges that Father Christmas faces as he enters the final days of preparation and ready to deliver, and having to visit all the different houses and tiptoe, as we said in the introduction, so that he leaves those sort of gifts of joy and pleasure for individuals?
It's like any business and task and mission that we have. We get that sort of tunnel vision towards the end, and everything seems to be coming really quickly upon him. But he has clear processes, he has clear procedures, and he has all these things that will support the elves to ensure that it is enabled and all things are done to the correct standard. And then he's got the timeline. So there is a good lead-in time. It's no good him finishing on the evening with those last few products. He needs to set the timeline to be innate before, so that he has that time then to go through everything else with regards to all the logistics and the resources that he needs to have to enable that evening to take place. So he has clear strategy, clear direction towards the end, and that directive type leadership style comes into play a little bit more towards the end to ensure that they meet the targets that they've been set.
So it sounds like Father Christmas is setting a direction, a vision. He's then putting in place planning to make sure everybody understands the actions that are required. He's looking after himself and the elves. He's seeking guidance and support from those close around him to seek counsel. And then
Definitely.
that achieves a delivery of excellence and consistency year in, year out.
It is. And, you know, he will also take lessons learned from that evening afterwards, where he will sit down with his closest team to look at things that they did well, to look at things that didn't perhaps work so well. And it's those key learnings of what did not work so well that enables him to improve every year. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Trayton, we've never not had a wonderful Christmas, been blessed by the wonderful gifts and presence of family around us.
I think that's so true. And it just shows to me that just doing some of those very basic things achieve what I would call sustainable performance, delivering year in, out. And that's just amazing. So it sounds to me, Marc, that we've got a lot to learn from Father Christmas and the approaches that he takes.
I think he brings many wonderful, you know, as I said, ideas together, and we certainly could learn from him, from the styles that he uses, from being able to be flexible across the different styles, the leadership that he needs to require, his ability to listen to others, to inform himself, to make the best decisions that he can. And he will play with the different options and think about them clearly. And that's where I think the support he gets from his closest family is where it enables him to be able to process and say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. What is always clear for the elves and for the workforce is the what and the why. And then it's how they do it, which he enables as well.
And it sounds very authentic and purposeful, and something that people engage with and want to deliver a great service every time.
With a lot of empathy in there as well. He believes in his people, he values his people, and he leads his people.
Great. Well, listen, I know this probably isn't possible, but at some point I'd love to meet Father Christmas so that I can learn from him in the brilliance that he provides. And maybe that's a different conversation and a different year, but hopefully I can do that. And before we wish everybody a Merry Christmas, well, I'd like to ask you, and I guess if you can speak on behalf of Father Christmas, is, as you know, at Coaching Focus, our purpose is very simple: coaching for a better tomorrow. So what would Father Christmas articulate that in his own words as being?
I think Father Christmas would say, just try always to be the very best you can be. Support those around you, whether friends or close family, and enjoy those very special times that we have, and recognize that they are sometimes far too little, all right, but those small times that we spend are really powerful. Build those connections, enable your people, and embrace the times that you have to be able to celebrate and enjoy each other's company.
I think those are wise words, and please thank Father Christmas when you do see him, Marc. So that's the end of our conversation. And so before we do go, obviously, I'd love to wish all of our listeners a very merry festive season and Merry Christmas to you all.
And the same from me. Merry Christmas, everybody. Enjoy your time with family and friends and celebrate in your own way.